Good morning. Good morning. I am excited because I've had this idea for quite a while and I just haven't pulled the trigger to make it happen. And today is the day. So I am part of an organization, a movement called Conscious Capitalism. And I realized that in a lot of circles, I love and respect and have been a part of, capitalism can be like a dirty word. Like it is it's representative of everything that is wrong with society and harmful to people. And I absolutely agree that capitalism in a distorted form is really harmful. And there's a lot of versions of that going on in the world, including in our own country in the US, especially here, right? However, I also believe in a version of capitalism, conscious capitalism, which I think that is what capitalism is meant to be and the good that it is meant to create in the world. And though I find myself feeling a little self-conscious or uncomfortable because I care so much about people and doing good in the world, of associating myself with capitalism, right? So I decided that what I wanted to do is just start a conversation about what is, or continue a conversation. I'm not starting it. I'm starting a thread of it. What is conscious capitalism and how is it different than traditional capitalism? And so I'm going to read this book. It's an ABCs of Conscious Capitalism for Kids. Now, I had the pleasure of hearing Laura Hall, who is the author of this book, speak at a Conscious Capitalism Chicago event some time ago and was gifted this book for being at the event. And I will say that I think it's a great place to start, which is why I'm starting here with this conversation. I also recognize that people may have opinions about this structure of book for educating and sharing these concepts with kids. I also think that the ways that this is presented, it's a tricky, it's hard for me to place as an educator what age group this is appropriate for. So I also recognize that though it says for kids and that was its intended audience, I think that there's a lot to learn for this discussion for everyone. And I recognize that for some kids, this would need to be distilled in a different way to make it accessible. So with all of those disclaimers, I'm excited to start with day 1A. But before I do, I wanted to just share a little bit about what conscious capitalism is versus what people think of as traditional capitalism, though I'm also a believer that capitalism was always intended to be this version and it's just gotten distorted and disfigured along the way. So conscious capitalism, I'm going to read this in case it's not obvious, but I just want to make sure that I don't lose the words. So conscious capitalism is grounded in the belief that capitalism is a powerful force for human cooperation and social good. A business anchored on the principles of higher purpose, stakeholder orientation, conscious culture, and conscious leadership ensures businesses thrive ethically, socially, and culturally, transcending mere financial success. By prioritizing a purpose beyond profit and fostering a culture of care, businesses can inspire trust and collaboration, creating holistic success and prosperity for all stakeholders. So you saw me counting out higher purpose, stakeholder orientation, conscious culture, conscious leadership. Those are the 4 tenets or 4 pillars of conscious capitalism. And we are looking at how are we building our businesses in the foundations of that. And like it said, prosperity for all stakeholders. And so conscious capitalism thinks about stakeholders or who matters in the decision-making of business differently than traditional or, again, distorted capitalism that is focused on bottom line, focused on shareholders, investors, and And sometimes customers is that like next second, right? And not really thinking about the 360 of our different shareholders. So really when we think, our stakeholders, I mean, when we think about stakeholders in our businesses, we're thinking about who do we have an impact on in all directions, whose well-being matters in this decision making. So we're looking at not only our investors, shareholders, and customers, but we're also looking at our team, our employees, our vendors, our contractors, our community. And community can look very different for each business. Sometimes that might mean literally the neighborhood that a brick and mortar is in. It may mean a global community. It may mean a more centralized, like country or city or whatever. And it may be that it's several of those things in terms of community, and then the environment and the business itself. So it's not that we're saying all of this matters at the detriment of the business. We're saying all of these things have to win at the same time. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to jump into day one, the ABCs of conscious capitalism for kids. Now, I will warn you. No, I don't need to warn you anything. I started to like give a disclaimer about how I read. Doesn't matter. We're going to do it. So, first of all, you can see this cute little roadmap of all the letters. I think my camera's focusing in on it. Maybe. Ooh, there we go. Ha. And it's officially time for Storytime with CQ. Letter A, a 26-day journey of business for good. So at the beginning, okay, so it has a quote here. If you are successful, it is because somewhere, sometime, someone gave you a life or an idea that started you in the right direction. That is a quote from Melinda Gates, co-founder of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So I think that's a really lovely quote to remember that we are we are lifted up by those around us. So capitalism at the beginning, here we go. You may have heard this word in school or around the dinner table. The word capitalism is used when people talk about money and business. And it's a word that has a big impact on how we live our lives. The word capitalism describes a system where people work or trade in exchange for money so they can use that money to pay for things they need, like clothes and food, or things they want, like games, going to the movies, or traveling on vacation. In a capitalist society, the government does not decide who can sell what and how much can be charged for goods and services. Instead, private business owners are given that right, and customers get to vote with their wallets. In a capitalist society, anyone, including you, can earn money by creating a business that you love. I'm going to pause there. What I think is really fascinating about this, obviously being geared for kids, is that it's instilling the idea that you can be a business owner. And I think there are a lot of great examples of minors who have been able to set up really successful businesses. And I think that that's a cool thing about our culture. So I'm going to keep going. What is so neat about capitalism and business, though, is that beyond making money, there's so much more that you can do. That's where the idea of conscious capitalism comes from. Conscious capitalists knows that businesses can do much more than make you money and buy you cool things. Conscious capitalists know that businesses can do incredible good in the world. Conscious capitalists set up their businesses to take care of people and the planet, all while making a profit. How awesome is that? I think that's pretty awesome. Because of their focus, conscious capitalism and capitalism look different. So, and then there's this picture here. Now, I think that this picture is interesting because it tells the reader to color light blue every part of the picture that shows traditional capitalism at work and coloring green every part of the picture that shows conscious capitalism. I think that it might be a little reductive in some ways, but I also understand it's for kids and we're trying to simplify and make it easy and in picture form. So some things that you may not be able to tell. Let me see if I can get it to focus in. There we go. Is that we have somebody who's being trained. It says conscious trainee. We've got organic lemons here. We've got glass straws and recycled, like conscious cups. And over here we have discount lemonade is what it says. This buy now, 1 week only. There's an investor looking sad with his money behind them. So it looks like a dog might be chewing. I'm not sure. I don't know if that dog is a part of the story of what is conscious versus standard capitalism, but I do like that there is some of this visual representation of some of the things that business owners can be doing to make sure that that they're being conscious about their business choices. So that is letter A at the beginning. And I'm going to go on to business for good in my next video, but I'm excited to keep this conversation going. If you have thoughts or questions about any of this, feel free to drop them in the comments. Excited to explore this topic with you because I know that there are a lot of questions, ideas, feelings about capitalism, and I really want to make sure that I'm contributing my voice to talking about how business really can be one of the most powerful tools for good in the world. So I will catch you all later. Have a beautiful day.